Yes.
All right. Well, okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is the first session of the online virtual ICD 2020. And this is the session on crowdsourcing. We have 5 papers. And the procedure will be, we'll play the presentations, the videos, and during the presentation, and also for a short while after the presentation, I will collect some questions, if there are questions from the audience. And I'm going to ask, or people can be allowed to ask directly if there are not that many people in the session. We'll have a few minutes of questions per paper, and then we will continue to the next one. So now, without any further delay, let's begin. The first paper of the session is real-time cross-online matching in spatial crowdsourcing. And now Aparna will play the video. Yurong Chang is the speaker, and she is here also to ask questions. Please go ahead.
Okay. So
Aparna, we cannot hear anything. Yurong,
should I just present by myself or play the video?
We can play the video.
Okay.
Aparna can play the video, and you can we can ask questions at the end.
Okay. Okay.
Professor, did you say you're not able to hear the audio?
No, can you try again, because it worked just a moment ago.
Yes, I'm trying it again.
Yeah.
In people's data in spatial crowdsourcing. Now let me introduce our paper.
Can you hear me?
With the development of intelligent phone and mobile technologies, spatial crowdsourcing.
Yes, Professor?
Yes, we can hear it. So you can just start it from the beginning.
Yes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yurong from Beijing Institute of Technology, and it is my great honor.
现在的板块有改了一下，我翻你一下英文的我想的板块，大概就是有3个模块。第一个模块就是我们说的我们搭的那个平台，第二个模块是一个就是粉丝的互动的社区，包括我说的吧。
Applications include intelligent transportation, food delivery, and express. Every day, millions of users are active on each platform. These platforms provide the convenient services to users as well as the economic gain to crowdworkers. A good spatial crowdsourcing platform should be able to assign crowdworkers to serve real-time requests, considering the user satisfaction and its own benefit. This requires that the total travel distance of crowdworkers is minimized, or the travel revenue of the platform is maximized. Existing studies focus on the task assignment just on a single platform. However, in the real world, surveys on a single platform may lead to rejection of requests due to a high cost of both money and time. For example, the figure shows an order of Didi, a taxi calling platform. The green location is the origin, while the orange one is the destination. This request is not responded since no available crowdworkers nearby can serve it. Presently, Didi handles this problem by conditionally providing services based on users' preference with respect to the service cost and waiting time. The user will be asked if he or she would like to wait for a longer time until any available workers happens to appear and serve it. For example, here, the user is expected to wait about 1 minute and 23 seconds before the request is responded. Or the platform immediately calls a driver from a further place for service if the driver would like to pay a higher price. For example, the request here is directed to pay a 4.2 times higher price. Otherwise, the request will be rejected. Obviously, all solutions will reduce the satisfaction of users, leading to the loss of users over the platform. Why does such case happen in the real world? Due to the location-aware dynamic scheduling of workers, it is common that a large number of workers may gather in a region with few requests, while quite a lot of requests may come from another place with few workers. The cars and the users in red belong to one spatial crowdsourcing platform, while those in blue belong to another. In the left region, the users in blue are much more than the cars in blue. However, in the right region, the reverse happens. If more than 2 users in blue in the left region submit a request, the corresponding platform would have to ask a blue car in the right region to serve the third user after long traveling. So we can see that the waiting situation is caused by this biased distribution of workers and users. Fortunately, in practice, we find that different platforms may provide the same service. When one platform has no available workers nearby, another platform may happen to have unoccupied workers. For the above case, when the blue cars are not enough in the left region, some red cars belonging to another platforms can be available there. This phenomenon is served because we often see some smart crowd workers always open several apps at the same time to expect more requests. Smart users often find they cannot be served by one app currently. They can be responded immediately if they submit their request to another app. Nevertheless, while opening several apps at the same time can achieve the completeness of more requests, it has two main shortcomings in practice. Firstly, for the users, it is too fuzzy to try different apps one by one, typing the same messages over and over. Secondly, for the workers, if these platforms assign requests to them at the same time, they may reject some assigned ones without any reason, leading to a punishment from the platforms in terms of money and credibility. So it is highly demanded to design a more intelligent strategy for the proper cooperation among different platforms. The figure shows the location of 5 persons and 5 cars. Table 1 shows the value of each request. Table 2 shows the arrival order of each worker and request. With the existing online matching method, the optimal solution is as the figure B. In this case, the platform can serve only 3 requests. If we borrow 2 workers from other platforms, the new matching result is like figure C. In this case, the platform can serve 5 requests. This page proposes a cross-online matching to deal with the cooperation across different spatial crowdsourcing platforms. We should address 2 challenges. First, to conject a good model that takes into account both the task assignment and incentive. Now we introduce more problem definition. We have presented by its arrival time, location, and value, and worker is serving the request target. An outer crowd worker belongs to other platforms. Payment is the payment for outer crowd workers. Revenue, the total gain of worker and the outer crowd worker. Is given a set of requests, a set of our. Each worker or request arrives quickly. COM calculates revenue is satisfying the following constraints: the time constraint, one constraint, and traditional online matching is a special case where the set of COM is to evaluate the performance. Online occurs more approximate ratio. Produce our deterministic method. can obtain a revenue VR if R is completed by R. The obtained revenue must R if R is completed. To obtain the largest revenue, it gives an inner priority to serve an income. If there's no available DemCOM minimum outer payment VR prime may attract any. If the outer smaller than VR prime, no outer to serve. This platform can obtain a large VR minus VR prime. Determines whether a worker to serve. When W1, W1 can reassign one with revenue 4. W3 and R2 arrive. Assign W2 to R2 with value 9. R3 arrives. We borrow W3 to serve. The minimum outer payment revenue is 6 minus 2. 4 arrive. Value 3 arrive. W5 to R5. W5 and 3. Outer payment.
Can I interrupt? Aparna, could you please stop the video?
I did, Professor. I paused it.
I think we have a problem. I cannot hear very well. Completely, it cuts all the time. Is everybody else having this problem? Can you please, if you have a problem, can you mention it in the chat?
So I don't know whether what's the matter. It seems to be just on and out and something like that. But when I listen to the video, it is just okay, and I can listen it fluently. So may I just present my work by myself?
Can I just wanted to, yes, you can, I mean, but we don't have that much time, so we have to be on time. Can you continue from here? Do you think it was okay up to this point?
Yeah, okay. I think you can play the video, and I speak by myself. Just remove the sound.
So,
Okay.
so you want Aparna to mute her, mute the video, and you can just talk.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, fine. Aparna, can you just talk, just keep going with the video, but just remove the sound?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I will mute myself and start playing the video. That's how the audio stops for the video, Professor.
No, you just use this button, or not the button, the slider over here, or to the left. It has the sound.
To the very left. Yeah.
All the way there.
Okay.
And just
Okay,
run
and
it.
play.
Just play it
Okay.
now. And,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I've played.
Okay, here it is about to estimate the minimum outer payment. And if the outer payment is smaller than the whole payment, and no crowd worker would like to serve it, so we use the Monte Carlo sampling method to solve the problem. And this is the bound for estimate the minimum outer payment with the Monte Carlo sampling and the competitive ratio, and we prove it is the same with the greedy method by the traditional online matching. And the shortcomings of the deterministic method is about the inner workers may assign to small values, and when the request with large values arrive and our inner workers are busy, and we can see the the outer payment should be at about 70%, and it is very cost to make the large number of high value requests to assign to the outer crowd workers. And we can see also the minimum outer payment is not a very good method to pay for the outer payments. And we can see that from our experiments, the accepted ratio is only 16%. It is very low. So if the, okay, for the fourth one, and it's about the randomized method to overcome the shortcomings. And the main idea of the randomized method is to technically to pick up the requests with larger values to the inner workers and leave those with smaller values to the outer workers. We realized that this is by giving a random threshold, and only when the values is larger than the threshold, and we assign an inner worker. Unlike the minimum outer payment, and we use the expected revenue, which is defined like this. We have proved that this expected revenue can be solved by the existing word, and it is like this, the schedule. And when W1 and W2 and R1 arrives, we assign W1 to R1 with the supposed threshold equals to E, and then the W3 and R2 arrives, we assign W2 to R2 with the value is larger than the threshold. And then R3 arrives, we find that no available inner worker is here, and we can assign W3 to R3, and the expected value is about 4. So the payment is 6 minus 4. And then, yeah. And then R4 and R5 arrives, and we use similar method to assign R4 and R5. So the computed ratio of this method is 8E minus plus 1. And the fifth point is about the experiment. We use the real data size from BD and Vehicular, and also static data, which is citing different values, and the default values are in bold. So, okay, the comparison method is are 4 algorithms, which is the offline, the traditional one, and our 2 methods. We can see the effectiveness of the method. The offline method is the best in terms of the total revenue among all methods, but can never be achieved in the real world, since the arrival order of the requests and workers are ignored. And compared with the traditional one, our 2 methods can improve the income of the platform about $9,000 US dollars per day, and it is a very considerable income in the real world. And comparing to the TOTA, our 2 methods can improve the performance by about 17% to the upper bound of calculated by the offline method. And for the efficiency, we can see that the TOTA achieves the fastest response time, while other algorithms incurs up to only about 50 milliseconds higher than the TOTA. So for the conclusion, in our work, we propose the COM program, which allows different platforms to cooperate and design to efficient algorithms to solve the COM responded computed ratio. And in the future work, we can see that the researchers can further consider the rules of users and workers during the cooperation and minimize the cost and maximize the total revenue. So that's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Now we have virtual applause. Obviously, we're not in the room. Now, Are there any questions? Anybody wants to ask a question? If you want, you can talk, or you can send something. You can send a message in the chat. You can unmute yourself if you want to talk. Anybody wants to ask a question in the chat? Okay. Well, can I ask you a question? So you're basically saying that you can combine different networks, right? You can get answers by essentially keeping the good questions to the local network and then offloading the other ones and the borrowed. Is that the gist of the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of learning overall? I mean, looking at, you know, if different, if for example, the networks are not exactly the same, but the workers have different characteristics. So you may want to offload different questions to different kinds of networks.
Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Yeah. Let me answer it, Demetrius. I'm the course. I'm Lei Chen. Actually, these very good questions. And in this week, we assumed all network are homogeneous, and it's not heterogeneous. If network are heterogeneous, of course, your question is very valid. So how can we assign the task based on the different characteristics of networks? There's like a length, like in this morning's talk, learn the index. I think there's something we can learn from each networks and get characteristics and transfer the knowledge we assign the task to different networks across networks. That's a very valid question, but you know, so far all the ride sharing networks approximately they share the heterogeneous characteristics. So that's the reason we can borrow the workers and you know assign as a whole.
Okay. Well, thanks for
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other question? Well, thank you again. Another applause for the talk, the first talk. And
yeah, thank you. That's wonderful. It works, right?
Apologies for the beginning. You know, it was difficult to run the video. So I guess we can continue with the second talk of the day. Predictive task assignment in spatial crowdsourcing, a data-driven approach. Yan Zhao will actually give the talk, and I think now Zoe will run the video. So again, we'll run the video. If you have any questions, you can send the chat, and at the end of the talk, you can unmute yourselves and ask questions. Let's hope this will run smoother. Okay, so let's see. Okay, please, could you please run the video? Zoe, we can see the screen, but are you running the video?
I'm sorry, Professor, what's happened?
We can see your screen, but could you run the video?
Yeah, I run the video. Wait a minute. I changed the sharing. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Our work. Predictive.
We cannot hear anything. Can you? I'm sorry. Joye,
Yes.
can you? We cannot hear anything. Do you hear something? I mean, you were able to play it before, but we cannot hear anything now.
You could not hear anything now, but I have setting the mute as the largest as possible.
Can you start from the beginning?
Okay.
Because I can hear you fine, but I cannot hear
Yes.
the audio from the video.
Okay, wait a minute. Is it okay?
I don't hear anything.
No.
I'm sorry?
Nobody hear anything.
Yeah, we cannot hear anything. You can hear the video.
Yeah, I could hear the video.
Is that possible to like the first presenter just present? We don't have time, right?
Yeah, I sent this video to her.
Can I ask Yan Zhao basically to talk and actually go us through the video?
Okay.
Thank you. So you can run the video and Yan can actually talk through the video.
Okay.
So could I share the screen?
Yeah, if you want, you can share the screen. Just make sure that you will stay on time, right?
Okay.
Do you prefer to share your screen?
We can share the presentation as well, Professor, and then move the slides if you're not able to play the videos.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I mean, you have your presentation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Share
I can
your
use my
screen and just give your talk with the screen. However, make sure that you try to stay on the time. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So this is Yan Zhao from Suzhou University. She's giving the second talk of the day, and this is now actually live, not a video.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Yan Zhao from Suzhou University, China. Today, I will present our work, Predictive Task Assignment in Spatial Crowdsourcing, a data-driven approach. Let's begin with the background. As we all know, spatial crowdsourcing is organizing the crowd to physically move to some specific locations and perform spatial tasks, like taking scenic photos, reporting hotspots. For spatial crowdsourcing platforms, the core challenges include quality control, privacy protection, task assignment, and so on. Among them, the most important one is task assignment. It's also the focus of this paper. In this work, we propose a spatial crowdsourcing problem called predictive task assignment. We first define our problem. Given a set of time instances, a set of workers and tasks, Each worker and tasks are associated with their spatial temporal information. We first predicted the spatial temporal distributions of workers and tasks. And our problem is to find the optimal assignment with the maximal number of assigned tasks based on the predictions. Specifically, our framework contains two components: work task prediction and task assignment. We next present our solutions by this framework in more details. When it comes to workers' prediction, we first utilize a frequent mining approach to detect the available time instances for workers, of which the occurrence frequencies exceed a given minimum support threshold. For the prediction of workers' location, we apply the spatial temporal recurrent neural network model to predict the location of each future worker at the beginning of her available time, from which the worker tends to perform tasks. The architecture of the STRNN model is shown in this figure, which contains 3 layers: input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. The input layer contains the latent vector of the location a worker visits at different time. The hidden layer is the key component of the model, in which the vector representation of hidden layers for the worker at current time instances can be computed by the activation function. Finally, the prediction can be computed by calculating inner product of worker and location representations in the output layer. For the prediction of workers' route,
Hello? Hello? Okay, so it seems we just lost Ian. Let's see, I don't see her in the...
I think the network connection problem. So she's in China.
Right.
No,
The thing is, I don't see her anymore in the participants.
No.
Okay. Yeah, she's. Yeah. Okay. So it seems like she's not in the participants anymore. Okay. Let me do the following. Now it's difficult to see what to do. Is there any other author of this paper online? Any other of the authors is online?
She's trying his network. She's trying his network, and she's offline now.
Yeah, no, she's not. But I'm saying if there is any other author of the paper.
So the video doesn't work, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. That's why I'm saying if there is another author, then we can play the video as playback, and the other author can actually go us through. But while we're waiting and we're trying to solve this offline, let's continue with the next talk, because I see she's trying twice. She's trying to get in. Yeah. Yeah. Let's continue with the next talk, I think. And if she comes back online, we'll do this talk at the end. Yeah, I see that she's not here. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, so it gets quite complicated. It's just the first session of ICD, and we already have our first big problem. Yeah, somebody is asking.
I think the best way, Demetrius, maybe we can start with third speaker.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Hello, excuse me. Miss
Yeah.
Zhao sent his slides to me and let me help her to introduce her work. Is that okay?
Who did that?
You know.
She sent her slides to me and she cannot online.
Oh, okay. And she asked you to continue the presentation?
Yeah, let me to continue. She also sent me her her lecture words to me.
Can you do that? Is that okay?
If you can play the video, it will be nice.
Yeah, I think the video will be nice. And
yeah, let's play the video and you can actually talk over the video. So this is your own, right?
Yeah, it is my. Can you see my my?
We can see your screen.
Yeah,
yeah,
I can see
okay.
you. Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, okay. I will help her to continue. And is that here? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And the model first extract the road concerns from massive history trajectories by a point-based road concern extraction method. And then both the history trajectory and the query trajectories to the predicted are presented by the trajectory mapping approach based on these road concerns to generate concern-centric routes. And during the process of route prediction, and the pattern matching approach is used to predict the future route based on the discovered frequent movement patterns. And when the encounter no pattern matching, and the STRNN model can be exploited to predict the next road concern. And next, we show how to predict the spatial temporal distribution of the tasks. And for the task number prediction, we first partition the study area into disjoint and uniform grids, and then construct a network based on the spatial temporal information of the tasks called the spatial task-based network. And in order to encode each node into a low dimension vector and keep the structures information, we design 3 types of paths based on our spatial task-based network to capture the spatial information, task-related information, and temporal information. And then a path constraint deep walk algorithm is proposed to embed the network into low dimensional space such that the original nodes of the network are presented. And we can estimate the task number in each cell through a regression algorithm by considering both history data and other nodes. Once the task number in each cell is obtained, we employ the kernel density estimation approach over locations of task samples in the cells to compute the occurring probability of the potential tasks where the task samples are proposed of a set of history tasks published in the cell. And the probability of the potential task being relaxed in the location in each cell can be calculated by the kernel density estimation approach, which is presented by this equation. According to the predicted task number in each cell, we set the top n location with the high probabilities as locations of the predicted tasks. Next, we will show how to assign tasks to the suitable workers based on the predictive spatial temporal distribution of the worker and the tasks. Due to the spatial temporal constraints, each worker can only complete a small subset of the tasks. Therefore, we developed both greedy and optimal task assignment algorithms. And both the algorithms begin with the maximal valid task set generation of each worker. And the basic idea is to use a dynamic programming algorithm to find all the max VTS. And finally, we can get the maximal valid task sets for all the workers. And then a straightforward solution is to assign each worker with the maximal valid task size from the unassigned tasks until all the tasks are assigned to all the workers and are exhausted, which is called the greedy task assignment algorithm. And for the optimal task assignment, we observed that in practice, workers share the common task with only a few other workers. We call the relationship as worker dependency. Obviously, if all the workers are independent with each other, and the optimal assignment will be the union of the maximal valid task set of each worker. And so we propose 4 steps to find the optimal task assignment results. And in the first step, we utilize a graph to present the task dependency of, among workers, and 2 workers sharing the same task have an edge in between them. And then we apply a degree K-graph reduction-based method to divide all the workers into clusters. And after getting the clusters, we organize the subset of workers into a tree structure such that sliding nodes are independent of each other. And after getting the clusters, we organize the, and then we apply the depth-first search procedure to find the optimal assignment. And next, we show some experimental results. We conduct our experiments using 2 real data sets, Twitter data sets and the Gmission data sets, where Twitter data sets provide the check-in data with category information, and Gmission is a research-based generation spatial crowdsourcing platform. And we evaluated the performance of the worker prediction phase and the task prediction phase and the task assignment phase. For the workers' location prediction, our STRNN model achieves the highest accuracy rate. And besides the task assignment result dependent on the prediction accuracy, since better accuracy means more correct detected workers. And for route prediction, our hybrid methods may make the significant improvement of the accuracy over pattern matching approach. And for the task prediction, compared with other 2 baseline approaches, the path constraint deep walk can improve accuracy of location prediction and generate the most correct locations, which leads to the largest number of assignments. When it comes to the performance of the task assignment, although the maximum task assignment algorithm without prediction is the fastest algorithm, it generates the smallest assignment task while our optimal task assignment method results the largest, which demonstrate the benefit of our methods. And we finally conclude our work. And in this work, we propose a novel data-driven framework and to assign the tasks to workers by considering both the current and future workers and tasks. We designed different strategies to predict the spatial temporal distribution of the future workers and tasks. Moreover, we developed a greedy algorithm to efficiently assign tasks and graph partition-based decomposition algorithm to find the global optimal task assignment. Extensive experiments based on the real data confirmed that our proposed framework can improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the task assignment. Okay, thanks. That's all.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for stepping in. I think it would be too much to also ask questions now, but already, thank you very much for actually presenting the work. So I'd like to ask everybody to, if they have questions, to send them offline to the speaker, because I see that she did not manage to connect yet. So she's still offline, so we'll have to hold off questions and you can just email, I think. Oh, I think Yan Zhao, are you in now?
Yes.
Now you're
I just
in.
connected.
You managed to connect, okay. So if anybody has any questions, you can ask one question. Otherwise, I guess we'll have to move to the next session. Did you just manage to connect? Because I checked earlier and you were not there.
Yes, I just connected.
Just connected for the end of the talk. Yeah. If anybody has a question, please go ahead, ask the question, and then.
May I ask questions?
Yes, one question.
Yeah. Yeah, the very quick questions, like how you handle the dynamic updates, so the workers keep on coming, tasks keep on coming. So these scenarios quite often happens, right? So how you handle the updates, dynamic updates?
We use the history trajectory data to predict the workers and tasks future location and routes. When we assign the current workers and locations, we also consider the future workers and locations based on the prediction.
Okay, so you keep a model for everybody, right? And you just...
Okay, thank you.
Well, okay, so let's continue. I think we can continue with the next talk. Aparna, can you try to run the next video? And hopefully this will run better this time.
Yes.
So now we're talking about, yes?
I can start the video.
Yes. So the next talk is about curiosity-driven energy-efficient worker scheduling in vehicular crowdsourcing, deep reinforcing learning approach. The author who is now on in the meeting is Zhao, and we can ask questions after the talk. So please please everybody mute your phones. Mute your microphones without exception, because the system gets confused. So please go ahead, run the video.
Yes, Professor.
Hello everyone, my name is Zhao Yingle. Today I'm going to make a presentation about our paper using a deep reinforcement learning approach to address the worker scheduling in vehicular crowdsourcing. Here is the outline. Spatial crowdsourcing is an increasingly popular category of crowdsourcing in mobile internet. In spatial crowdsourcing, there is a cloud-based server which assigns a location-based task to a batch of workers. Then the workers use their carried smart devices to perform sensing tasks like taking photos, shooting a video, and so on. Among all of the problems in spatial crowdsourcing, matching task worker pair and scheduling workers' route is an important issue and becomes a hot topic. In spatial crowdsourcing, the worker often refers to the human worker. However, drones and driverless cars equipped with high-precision sensors are also playing an important role for long-term crowd sensing campaigns, especially in remote or dangerous areas. However, drones often face a short flight time, which is a problem for long-term crowdsourcing campaigns. Reinforcement learning is to learn a state action mapping to maximize a numerical accumulated reward signal. Different from dynamic programming, reinforcement learning can be combined with model-free method and thus especially useful for long-term policy derivation in POM-DP environment. In this picture, we give an example to show how DRL works. An agent, that is the robot, is playing the Space Invader game. We assume that he can observe the screen and operate the handle just like human. It starts with an initial state S1. After observing the state, the agent takes an action A1 according to his own policy system. After that, he will obtain a reward R1 and the next state S2. We call the period from S1 to S2 as one step. After one step, the agent could update its policy system according to the information of state, action, and reward. After many rounds of steps, the agent will come into an end state ST. We call the period from S1 to ST as one episode. In spatial crowdsourcing, most problems has a scalar metric to optimize, like data quality, the energy cost, or the time latency. But traditional method cannot achieve a long-term optimal policy. Therefore, DRL or RL-based methods are getting more attention in spatial crowdsourcing or mobile crowd sensing. There exists a few challenges in our system. First of all, there are many elements should be considered, like charging stations, the worker, the point of interest, and the obstacle. So how to derive a long-term optimal policy for worker scheduling by fully considering its spatial temporal data complexity and correlation is a problem. Second, we've mentioned before that the drones face a problem of short flight time. So with the presence of multiple randomly distributed charging stations, when and where to charge becomes an issue. Third, the unevenly distributed sensing tasks or data. For example, the earthquake will result in different degree of damage at different locations. It is actually going to happen and make a challenge to our system. So here is our solution. We propose a DRL-based method to derive the optimal policy for all of the workers. First, we utilize a distributed computational architecture to stabilize and facilitate the policy optimization process. The architecture consists of one chief thread and multiple employee threads. The local model in each employee generates training samples and computes gradients. After that, each employee will send gradients to the chief thread. After receiving the gradients from all of the employees, the chief thread will average gradients and update global model weight. Then each employee will copy the weight from the global model to the local model. After that, a new round of generating samples and updating model weights will start again. Second, we use a sparse reward instead of a dense reward. Most previous DRL-based work will design a suitable dense reward function to incentivize mobile users or drones to derive an optimal policy. However, an efficient dense reward function takes a long time to adjust. What's worse, dense reward often fails in some complex scenario like unevenly distributed data. So one of the solutions is to make the reward sparse. We think the idea behind the sparse reward is don't rush to give a reward because in most cases the reward is delayed. And remember, our objective is to maximize the overall goal, like collecting as much as possible data and consuming as little as possible energy, rather than the immediate reward. So our solution, our sparse reward consists of 3 parts. That is the sparse reward for data collection, the sparse reward for energy charging, and a dense penalty for the collision. So here we show the difference between sparse reward and dense reward in 4 successive frames in our training exercise. In the first frame, the worker will get a reward for 1, which means that the worker has collected some data and consumes some energy. However, it will get a sparse reward of 0, 0, 0, which means that the worker doesn't achieve the data collection goal nor the energy charging goal. In fact, the worker doesn't get any sparse reward for data collection until the 3rd frame, which means that he has achieved, he has collected enough data to achieve the data collection goal, so that the worker gets a reward, a sparse reward of 1. Sparse reward is promising. However, most traditional DRL-based methods may fail in such scenarios because, however, humans show a strong learning ability under sparse reward scenarios. For example, on your first day of campus, in your school, you walk around the campus and get yourself familiar with the strange environment without any explicit objectives. We call the incentive to drive humans to explore the strange environment as curiosity and find that we can use that in our system. Therefore, besides the sparse extrinsic reward, we propose a spatial curiosity model that takes the position feature prediction error as the intrinsic reward to incentivize the workers to explore the strange environment and get optimal policy. Here are the experimental results. First, we considered the application of drone-assisted post-earthquake rescue with 4 basic elements: the collapsed buildings, the charging stations, the sensors, and the drones. Here is the considered 2D crowd sensing space. First, we conduct a hyperparameter selection experiment to choose the suitable hyperparameter for DNNs. We noticed that the result of 8 employees with the batch size of 250, and the results of 16 employees with the same batch size are both good. However, for 16 employees with batch size 250, the training time is 45.5%, significantly longer than that of 8 employees, but only 1.7% increases in energy efficiency. Therefore, we choose the hyperparameter of 8 employees with batch size of 250 for DNNs. After selecting the suitable hyperparameter, we conduct several comparative experiments. First, we show the impact of number of workers. We vary the number of workers and show its impacts on the data collection ratio, remaining data ratio, and energy efficiency. From the results, we can see that more workers could result higher average data collection ratio and higher fairness. However, from the third picture, we can see that we need to carefully choose worker numbers to achieve a higher energy efficiency, because the energy efficiency first increases and then decreases with the increase of number of workers. We've mentioned before that the drone workers often face a problem of short flight time. So we show the impact of energy budget. From the results, we can show that DRL seals, that is our proposition, achieves a better performance even with little energy budget. From the first picture, we can see that DRL seals achieves a much higher data collection ratio than the baselines. We also visualize the curiosity value. In these figures, we show the curiosity value of DRL seals and DPPO in the training precise. The brightness in the picture presents the value of intrinsic reward. The first 5 picture is for DRL seals, and the bottom 5 picture is for DPPO. We can see that both algorithms become stable before the end of the training precise, because the picture is dark in episode 600 for both 2 algorithms. We can also see that DRL seals encourage drones to explore the environment, because, for example, in episode 150, the intrinsic reward value is larger for DRL seals than DPPO. And in episode 450, the brightness area is wider for DRL seals than DPPO. Last, we plot the trajectory of workers with 2 drones and 4 charging stations. We can see that DRL seals has an evenly planted trajectory, and each drone has a corresponding area. Here is our conclusion. First, we consider a vehicular crowdsourcing problem with multiple unmanned workers, a sensing task, and multiple charging stations. Second, we propose a DRL-based approach called DRL seals with a distributed chief employee computational architecture and a novel spatial curiosity model with sparse reward design. Last, experiments show that DRL seals outperforms all other baselines and state-of-the-art methods.
Right. Thank you very much for the talk. Excellent talk, and well on time. We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Is anybody wants to ask something? Okay, so I don't hear anything. Again, the author. is online. Is that correct? Just so you so. Oops. Now I don't see the author online any longer. You know, so, there you are. Okay. Yeah, now you can talk. Well, again, congratulations. Thanks for the talk. There are not any questions, so I guess you know. I guess we can we can continue with the next talk. So, Aparna?
Yes.
Yeah, you can run the next talk, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So the next talk is.
Good morning.
Hmm?
Yes, I'm the presenter.
Hi, this is the next talk is crowdsourced collective entity resolution with relational match propagation, and this is a collaboration that I see from Nanjing and RMIT University, and Jianxian Huang will actually be presenting, and he is also online. So please run, you can run the talk.
My name is Jiacheng Huang. I'm from Nanjing University. It's my honor to present our recent work, crowdsourced collective entity resolution with relational match propagation. It's a joint work with 3 teachers, Bei Hu, Zhi Fengbao, and Yu Dongqu. It is the outline of my report. Our research problem is entity resolution between knowledge bases. Knowledge bases store rich structured real-world facts about entities. In this figure, each node is an entity that represents a real-world object. Each edge is a relationship that describes the information between entities. There are also many attributes to describe the literal information of entities. Entity resolution is to judge whether an entity pair from knowledge bases refers to the same real-world object. Each entity pair is classified into 3 types: matches, non-matches, and unresolved pairs. For example, this pair of entities refers to the same movie, so this pair is a match. This pair refers to different cities, so it is a non-match. Other pairs are unresolved pairs. Crowdsourced ER approaches recruit human workers to label unresolved pairs. This figure is an example task. It asks human workers to judge whether this pair is a match or a non-match. Because crowdsourcing costs both time and money, the key challenge in crowdsourcing is to reduce the labeling cost. In this table, there are 3 types of crowdsourced entity resolution approaches. They use different match inference tools to reduce the labeling cost. We will introduce these tools in the next slide. The first is the transitive approaches. They only use the prior matching probability. These approaches are often costly. Monotonic approaches further leverage similarity on attributes. These approaches save more than 10 times labeling cost than transitive approaches. Collective ER approaches further leverage the relationship information to save labeling cost. To our knowledge, our approach is the first crowdsourced collective ER approach. Note that although this approach in CITM17 also uses relationship information, it only converts relationships to attributes. The first inference tool is traceability. It is always true in ER. In this figure, if we know AB is a match, AC is also a match. Good morning. My name is Jiacheng Huang. I'm from Nanjing. Oh, this approach classifies the relationship that describes the information between entities.
Okay, we have to find the right place again.
Is this the right one, Professor?
I think it was
next slide.
Next slide. I think it was yeah. Go on.
Yeah. Next one.
Go on.
Yeah.
On each types of entities independently. In fact, this method is uneconomic because we can use relationship information to infer matches between KBs. For example, if we know this pair of actors is a match, the pair of birthplace is also likely to be a match. We call this process match propagation. With the help of match propagation, we can resolve different types of entities jointly to save the labeling cost. Based on the match propagation, we proposed a workflow to address crowdsourced ER problem. It takes two knowledge bases as input and constructs an ER graph to model states of entity pairs and the relationships between them. Then the match propagation modeler decides which pairs of entities can be used to infer matches. The workflow will select multiple unresolved pairs as questions and publish these questions on the crowdsourcing platform. After the human workers on the crowdsourcing platform finish this question, the choose inference model handles the inconsistent answers and gives feedback to the ER graph. Then the state of entities in the ER graph will update. They will repeat this loop until there's no unresolved pairs. The first step is ER graph construction. We first determine the vertices. Since there are maybe millions of unresolved pairs, we proposed a pair pruning algorithm. It picks k nearest neighbors for each entity. Since we only have partial order to sort these entities, we use the worst possible rank instead. Then we choose possible relationship combinations to connect vertices. The match propagation will compute the consistency of relationship pairs to judge which pairs of relationship is useful. The second step is relational match propagation. The basic case is to find matches between neighbors of an entity match. As shown in this example, P1 and Q1 is an entity match. A1, A2 is the neighbors of P1. B1, B2 is the neighbors of Q1. The match propagation will find a set of matches between the neighbor pairs. Match propagation takes two factors into account. One factor is pair likelihood. The similarity of each pair is greater, the set of matches is better. Another factor is the neighbor set likelihood. The more entities are matched, the neighbor set is more similar. Combine these factors together, we can determine the probability of all set of matches. Then we use the marginalized probability to tackle each entity pair. For example, we sum up the probability of all match sets that contain the pair A1, B1 to compute the match probability of A1, B1 given P1, Q1 is a match. Then we generalize match propagation to passes in the ER graph. We use Markov chain to model these cases. The following step is to select multiple questions to ask human workers. The first goal of crowdsourced ER is the quality. To guarantee the precision, we set a threshold on the match propagation. To guarantee the recall, we want to maximize the expected number of matches can be discovered given the selected question set. We defined a benefit function to evaluate it. Another goal is to restrict the cost. We set a question number constraint. Finally, we obtained the MQS problem to maximize the benefit of questions such that the number of questions is no greater than mu. We deduce some properties of the MQS problem. We find that the set cover problem can be reduced to the MQS problem. So the MQS problem is NP-hard. We also find that the benefit function is an increasing sum modular set function. So we designed a greedy algorithm to solve it. The greedy strategy is to choose each new question with largest thing in the benefit. We proved that the approximation ratio is 1 minus 1 over E. The time complexity is mu times square of the number of candidate questions. Since there are maybe millions of candidate questions, we use lazy evaluation of the gain in the benefit to save running time. Although this optimization cannot reduce time complexity, it makes our algorithm run fast in the practice. The last step is choose inference. We use some error tolerance technologies to tackle inconsistent human answers, such as assign each question to multiple workers and use worker quality to decide which answers are more reliable. Another problem is the classification on the isolated pairs in the ER graph. Since there are no relationship information for these pairs, match propagation can't help. We only use the attribute information and the resolve pair as training data to train a random forest model to classify these pairs. We conduct extensive experiments to compare the performance of Remp with previous approaches. We use 4 datasets. The first 2 are small benchmark datasets. The last 2 are large real-world datasets with millions of entities. We compared Remp with 3 monotonic approaches because these approaches outperform transitive approaches. So we didn't compare Remp with transitive approaches. We use F1 scores to measure the quality of ER and the number of questions to measure the human labeling cost. As we can see in this table, Remp improves the F1 score moderately and reduces the number of questions significantly. It shows that our match propagation model is effective to infer matches without damage to the accuracy. Next, we conduct experiments on 3 components of Remp. In the ER graph construction step, we observe that the correctness of partial order is near perfect. The reason is that the partial order is restricted in neighbors of each entity. The pair pruning algorithm effectively reduces the amount of entity pairs. Especially on the 2 large datasets, it drops almost most non-matches. Although the reduction ratio is high, the pair completeness only slightly drops. It shows our algorithm is effective. For the match propagation component, we compare it with collective ER approaches, Paris and Sigma. We randomly sample different portions of matches in the golden standard as input to these approaches. As we can see in this table, Remp achieves best F1 score in most cases. when there are only 20% of matches, the Remp can achieve relatively good performance. It shows that the Remp is also a powerful collective ER approach. We also compared the question benefit function with two design alternatives. The first is maxInf. It is use maximum inference power as the question. The next is the maxProb. It is choose the pairs with maximum match probability as the question. As we can see from this figure, our benefit function achieved better F1 score with that question. It was because that our benefit function takes both the match probability of questions and the inference power of questions. We also evaluate the MQS algorithm. We find that when the numbers of the questions asked in each loop increase, the total cost is slightly increased, which shows that our MQS algorithm is effective to choose suitable questions. Finally, I conclude my presentation. We proposed a crowdsourced collective entity resolution approach called Remp. Our main contribution are a partial order-based pruning algorithm, a relational match propagation model, a constrained multiple question selection algorithm. In the future work, we plan to combine transitivity, monotonicity, and match propagation together as a hybrid ER approach. That's all. Thank you for your time. If you are interested in our research, please check out our GitHub report. I'm ready to answer questions.
Well, thank you very much for the talk. Is anybody great talk? Is there anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a questions. Can I ask?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jiacheng, nice talk. Two questions. The first question is about this matching inference. So will you stop the inference, like one hop inference or two hop inference? Because in this knowledge graph, right, the entity resolutions, the inference can be, I mean, when I infer my neighbors and my neighbor can infer my neighbors, do you stop or just infer one step?
It's a good question. It depends on the persistence threshold. In our model, we use match propagation probability. So if we know for example, the birthplace of one person, it must be a match. So we give the probability is, for example, 0.9, and another hop maybe 0.9, and we combine them together, use the Markov chain. So the probability is 0.81. If this probability is smaller than the threshold, the match propagation is stopped.
So you set some threshold, right, to control when to stop the propagation, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The second question is about this multi-questions. You ask crowd. Do you assume these multi-questions have the same difficulties?
In our model, the answer is no. We use a similarity to.
Like I ask 10 questions, right? Like multi-questions. So all
yes,
the 10 questions is exactly the same hardness, like they don't.
Yes, we assume they have the same hardness.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. Nice talk.
Right, thank you. Okay, so then let's continue to the last talk of the session. Again, let's thank the student, the speaker virtually again, and continue to the last talk of the session, which is an end-to-end deep RL framework for task arrangement and crowdsourcing reinforcement learning framework for task arrangement and crowdsourcing platforms. And this is again in collaboration of several places: Hong Kong University, University of Yuan, Tsinghua, and Tencent. And Kahua-san will give the talk, will present, and he is also online. So again, you can ask questions by the chat if you want to during the talk. So please, Aparna, please run the video.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to present our paper. In this paper, we designed a framework based on the deep reinforcement learning method to arrange tasks in the crowdsourced platforms. Firstly, let me just introduce some background. The red figure is a general workflow of a platform. There are two kinds of users, requesters and workers. The requester is a person who aims at solving a computer hard problem, such as anti-resolution. He or she could establish tasks by designing the task layout and setting up some properties of tasks, such as the title, the description, the deadline. Then many workers come to the platform, select the available tasks to answer, and obtain the reward. However, current platforms only provide a simple sorting or filtering function for tasks. For example, sort tasks by creation time or filter tasks by category. It cannot satisfy objectives of workers, requesters, and the platform. Our goal is to design a recommender which can assign a task or recommend a sorted list of tasks to a common worker, which benefits workers, requesters, and platforms. Then, to benefit them, we need to know their motivations. The motivations of workers are different, which can be the payment, the fitness of interests and skills, and so on. So the recommendation for a worker is to find his or her motivation and match tasks which he or she likes. From the perspective of requesters, they want to obtain the great quality of their published tasks. So the recommendation for the requesters is to maximize the sum of the task qualities. Sorting or filtering function for tasks. For example, to maximize the number of complete tasks. SE make a profit by receiving a commission fee for each task. To achieve this, they should attract as many tasks as possible by requesters and as many as possible workers to complete these tasks. Therefore, it's necessary to balance the benefit of both workers and requesters. The previous supervised learning-based methods, such as probabilistic matrix factorization and k-means neighborhood, have many shortcomings. They only consider workers or requesters individually. Besides, they cannot handle real dynamic environments and only maximize the immediate reward while ignoring the long-term reward. Therefore, we try to use deep reinforcement learning-based methods. It naturally considers the immediate and future reward simultaneously in the online environment. It could co-op with dynamic changes and interact in the real time. Moreover, we design two Markov decision processes to model the benefits of workers and requesters. In detail, we use DeepQ network, which is a typical deep reinforcement learning method. There are two value functions, state value function and state action or Q value function. We use these two value functions to estimate the cumulative reward of states and actions, and to find the optimal policy. In practice, because we use features to represent the workers and tasks. We have many state and action space, making it impossible to estimate all value functions. So, the neural network are used to approximate all value functions. The first challenge is how to define the MDPs to model the benefit of workers and requesters. It's easy for workers because we can follow the similar settings used in some recommended systems. A worker coming triggers a timestamp. We set state as a feature of coming worker. If we recommend one task, the action are all available tasks feature. If the worker completes the assigned task, the reward is 1, otherwise is 0. Because each worker is independent, so the future state is the next time when the same worker comes. Similarly, the transaction probability depends on the success of completion. For requesters, the case becomes complex because we consider the sum of task qualities as the benefit of requesters. We also need to consider the current available tasks. Besides, we need to add the quality into stage. So, the stage includes the feature of the worker, the feature of currently available tasks, the quality of the worker, and the quality of current available tasks. For action, it's seen as MDPW. For reward, if the worker completes the assigned task, the reward is quality gain of complete tasks. Otherwise, it's 0. Since we consider the sum of all task qualities, the future state is next worker comes. No matter the same or different worker comes, transaction probability not only depends on the success of completion, moreover, it's more related to the next worker. After defining the MDPs, we will have a framework to recommend the tasks. When a worker comes, we receive a state including the coming worker and currently available tasks. We put the state into 2 neural networks to estimate the cumulative reward of actions. Then we integrate estimate rewards and assign the action with the highest reward to the worker. After the worker gives the feedback, we put the extra reward and corresponding future state into the memory. To update these 2 neural networks, we sample a batch of recent records in the memory. Although we have a complete framework, we have the second challenge: how to represent the set of available tasks. The current tasks are dynamic and their number is not fixed. Because it is a set, the model should be permutation invariant. The traditional neural network cannot handle it. So we design a novel Q network with the row-wise linear layers and multi-head tension layers. We can prove it is permutation invariant. Besides, we also use the zero appending to fix the length of features of available tasks. The third challenge is about the future state. When we obtain the feedback from workers, we know the reward, but we don't know the next time when the same worker comes. We need to predict the next coming time. From the history, we find that there is a pattern of the same worker arrivals. That is, a worker comes again with a short time, or comes again after 1 day, 2 days, and so on up to 1 week later. We can learn the distribution of the next coming terms from the history. Then we revise equations based on the distribution to update Q network. Similarly, we also need to predict the future stage in MDPR. Here, we not only need to predict the time, but also need to predict which worker will come. We still learn them from the history and revise the equations to update Q network. In the experiment, we collect a real dataset from a commercial crowdsourcing platform, Crowdsourced. Besides, we also compare with 5 competitors, including probabilistic matrix factorization, lean UCB, the neural network with the same structure of the Q network. For the evaluation metrics, we use worker completion rate to measure the benefit of workers and use the sum of quality of tasks to measure the benefit of requesters. In the paper, we not only recommend one task, we also recommend a sorted list of tasks with the estimate reward. So, to measure the performance of recommended list, we revise the completion rate into NDCG completion rate and top K completion rate. They apply different weights into different positions in a list. So if the complete task by workers is in the top of list, the value of measure is high. Similarly, we also revise task quality gain into NDCG and top K task quality gain. Here is the result about the benefit of workers. The red line is our method. You can see that our method not only uses the neural network to model the complex relationship between workers and tasks, but also predicts the immediate and future reward and updates the parameters after each worker feedback. So our method outperforms all competitors. Then we measure the benefit of requesters. Similarly, the red bar is our method. Our method utilizes the nonlinear and complex Q network to approximate, predict, and integrate the quality gain and completion rate of tasks in the long term, so that our method outperforms other competitors. Finally, we show the results integrating the two benefits of workers and requesters using the weighted sum model. The platform could decide the weight based on the current situation. That's all. Thanks for your listening. Any questions?
Well, thank you very much for the talk. Anybody has any questions? Again, I mean, you can also ask ask questions on the chat as well. But if anybody has a question that wants to ask the author, you can ask now. Okay, I guess we're a little late anyway, so I had the question, but it's okay. Since we're running a little late, yes, we can stop now, and I want to thank everybody for sticking with very interesting talks. This was the first session, and I guess we have to learn, a little more and do better in the next sessions. Now I'm gonna end the session because very soon, in about 15 minutes, there is the second keynote of the day. So I invite everybody to join the second keynote. You know, so you can log out from this session. And I would like to ask, thank also the student volunteers that run the session, Aparna and Joy. And Aparna, you can stop recording, and then you can close the session as well. Just 1 second, because yeah, there is a question about the recorded video. Yes, we are planning to have the videos available in the website. There is an actual company that does that. So it's not entirely clear when it will be available, but it will be soon. Well, by soon I mean days. I don't mean weeks or whatever. Also, it's not hours, right? So. Okay, so again, thank you all very much. Especially, I would like to thank the speakers. All the talks were very interesting, actually. And hope to see you in the next conference from face to face, but you know, that's the best substitute. Well, thank you all very much, and see you in the next meeting. Okay, goodbye. So Aparna, you can please stop the recording and also close the session.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.